Sheil Kapadia of The Ringer joins us right now. Sheil, are you officially a believer now? Are we going to win this series?
I'm going to say yes. I wanted that Schwarber home run gave me life. I went from I'm done with these guys to it ain't over yet in a matter of 30 seconds there in the fourth inning. So, yeah, I like it. I want there to be that tense feeling in Dodger Stadium like we've had at so many Philadelphia sporting events where you're worried the worst thing's going to happen and everyone's anxious. I want that to take over Dodger Stadium, get an early lead, bring it back to Philadelphia for Saturday.
So, honest answer: when Topper pulls Nola, who looked good after the second inning, to go to Ranger, what was your true feeling on whether you thought it was the right move?
Oh, yeah, I had texts out that said leave him in, so I'm not
Okay,
going to lie
all right.
about it. In the group chats, yeah, I don't have to add, but it was, listen, I ripped him for stuff earlier in the series. That plan with their backs against the wall worked out brilliantly. He stuck to it. So, yes, I will absolutely give him credit for that.
All right.
People went from don't even think about starting Aaron Nola to you can't pull him.
Yeah, you can't take him out. You can't take him out.
Yeah, that was me.
Yep. All right, Sheil. So on to the Eagles, who also play tonight. So once again, we're going to talk about the offense because it is the thing that we all have questions about. So in Sunday's game, you look at the final numbers for Jalen from a passing standpoint. They look good, and they hit a couple of long passes. He was sacked a bunch of times as well. There were some misses there as well. So when you go back and you look at that game, was there more good to take away from the passing game or more worry to take away from the passing game?
Yeah, well, for Jalen Hurts specifically, I didn't think he played very well last week. I think you look at it and I feel like there were throws he could have made. You mentioned it, 6 sacks. I think at least 3 of those you look at it and go, man, he could have made a throw here, and that sack is definitely on the quarterback. And so just some stuff the last couple weeks, there was some accuracy stuff the week before. I'm not saying it's all on Jalen Hurts, but yeah, I didn't think that was one of his better games, certainly of the season or really of the last couple seasons here. So I'm curious to see how he looks tonight. Now, there was other stuff too. I know you guys have spent time on the A.J. Brown. If he keeps running there, we're having a different conversation. And certainly the coaching stuff comes up week after week. But I thought that game specifically was not Jalen Hurts' best game.
From a scheme standpoint, did you see anything different or interesting than they've done in previous games?
Well, yeah, I think there were a couple things. I mean, one, obviously, we know they were pass heavy, maybe a little too pass heavy. I just look at them sometimes and go, you can have a balance. You don't have to come out and run it every single first and second down and run it on 2nd and 17. You also don't have to give Saquon Barkley 6 carries in a game either. Like, you can find a middle ground here. So that was one, obviously. They passed the football a lot. The other one was the RPOs returned. Those run pass options have not been a big part of the offense in previous weeks this season, and they were a big part of that game plan last week. And I think it's a good option for them. I thought they executed them well. I think it's a good way to pick up 5 or 6 yards on first down there. And then they did do some good, getting Saquon Barkley free for that touchdown down the right sideline. That was a nice schematic wrinkle. So there have been sprinkles of that the last couple weeks here.
This idea of playing zone against this Eagles offense, baffling them or befuddling them. I'm imagining it's a copycat league. Even teams that play a lot of heavy man like the Broncos decide to go play zone because it gives the Eagles problems. Is this a formula you think teams are just going to use against the Eagles? And if they do, how do the Eagles sort of combat that from an offensive standpoint to sort of get them out of the zone defenses?
Yeah, I think there's no doubt about it. I mean, you mentioned it, Ike. The Broncos were more of a man coverage team. Even in the first half, they were playing more man coverage, and then they changed at halftime and played more zone in the second half. We saw that the previous week as well. So to me, I don't know what you're doing if you play the Eagles, face the Eagles and come in with a man-heavy game plan. It just doesn't make sense right now with the issues they've had. So I think a few things you can do to change that. One is you run the ball better. You can force at least that safety in the box, and if you're facing zone, at least it's going to be single high zone, which is a little bit easier for Jalen Hurts to combat. The run game just hasn't been there. I think that's got to be there. I think you have to create some uncertainty with the opposing linebackers, a little more play action, a little more under center play action. You want them moving in the wrong direction to create some space in the defense in the intermediate part of the field. And then the third thing I would say is Jalen Hurts has never been a fan of throwing the football in the middle of the field. I think he looks at that and says, I don't want to turn the football over. The windows are a little bit tighter. I think anything he can do to turn that dial up a little bit, because that's where you have a lot of space in those zone coverages where those linebackers are not going to be the best coverage players. I think you want to take advantage of that as well. So those are some things I'm keeping an eye on, not only tonight, but in the future as well.
Yeah, the Eagles, I'm wondering if they wait until after this game tonight, Sheil. They're going to have a few extra days to get ready for the Vikings, like the mini bye week. But self-scouting has to be something that they need to sort of take a look at, because they become so predictable, right? When you're in shotgun, I'm seeing everybody break down the Eagles' offense, and they're talking about the high percentages of what the Eagles do out of shotgun versus what they do being under the center, which they're rarely under the center. They seemingly have become predictable against some of these defenses, and I'm just wondering, like, when will they do the whole self-scouting thing and switch some of that up as well and start making themselves a little bit uncomfortable by doing things they may not be familiar with, like playing from under center, incorporating a little bit more play action, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the mini bye and the regular bye is usually when we've seen, even with this coaching staff in the past, that's when they've kind of changed things up. And to be clear, it's not, hey, we're installing a brand new offense like that. That time has passed. It's more turning the dial up on some of the things you mentioned. I mean, we were at training camp and you would see them running under center play action. So it's in the playbook. They've had reps doing it. I don't think they like doing it. I don't think they've been very good doing it. So now it's a matter of, all right, how do we fix that? With the run game, again, I would say that's probably going to be their biggest focus after this game. How do we get this run game going? And I think they can run the ball against this Giants team, by the way, but whether that's different types of runs, whether that's getting Jalen Hurts more involved, because you just see it week after week. It flashes here and there, but it's not close to the weapon it was in previous seasons, specifically last season. So I think that's probably going to be their main focus, with the injuries on the offensive line, with the tight ends not necessarily doing a very good job in run blocking. All right, what are some things we can do schematically to come up with answers there? I think you will see that after this game starting next week at Minnesota.
Well, you mentioned Jalen's lack of throwing over the middle of the field, sort of a discomfort in doing that, or he chooses not to do it. I think you have to think the same thing when you're talking about mixing up what you're doing out of different formations if he's not comfortable passing out under center. So if he's not, it gets difficult, right? Because you don't want to not use it at all. But I wonder if they're even if he's never going to throw it, right, in a game under center, then why even be under center ever? Because you're basically signaling to the other team what you're going to do when you do it. You almost wonder whether you should throw it out completely if you can't mix it up what you're doing when you're in that formation.
It's fair, and it's a good point, Spike, because it's not like they've had different offensive coordinators, and I'm sure Kellen Moore would have liked to sprinkle some more of that in. I'm sure even now maybe they would have liked to sprinkle more of that in. So there's always that push and pull between kind of what the coaches think can work, what the quarterback prefers, and then finding that balance. Can you get through to them that, hey, you can do that. We want you to make those throws in the middle of the field. Don't worry about it. Or are you like, hey, we win a lot of games the way we're playing right now, and if that is the case, then I think the run pass options have to become even a bigger part of the offense, because you run those from shotgun. It's still the same idea, creating some uncertainty with those linebackers, putting them in conflict and creating space in the defense that way. So you're right. I mean, if they're at the point where they're like, man, we tried this in training camp, we call it in games, it's a disaster, maybe we just move away from it because, it's kind of a lost cause right now. Those are all things that they have to balance right now.
And the last thing on that, even the RPO, when we're talking about pass heavy, run heavy, it is the quarterback making that decision at that point, what he's going to do. And if we end up pass heavy in that situation, he must be seeing something that leads him to believe that that is the right thing to do. It's clearly not only him, it's a coordinator as well. But there's so many, it's so hard to figure it out because there's so many different factors that go into it. So Eagles-Giants tonight. Giants are not a good football team, though they do have some good players on defense. Is there anything from an Eagles perspective that you would be worried about? Giants aren't a good team, but is there something that they do that you think could give the Eagles trouble tonight?
I have a hard time seeing the Giants offense having a really good game. I think it would have to just be Jackson Dart scrambling around and some of those Baker Mayfield throws we saw a couple of weeks ago with him making plays out of structure. That's kind of what it has to be. They don't have the players on offense to just kind of down to down beat the Eagles defense, in my opinion. On the other side of the ball, the thing that would give me concern for the Eagles is just their pass rush. They've got talent up front. And what we've seen is teams say, hey, we don't need to necessarily blitz Jalen Hurts. We can just rush with 4, or, hey, we can send a slot corner at him and we can drop a defensive end. So we're still rushing 4, but they can't sort it out and figure out which 4 are coming after us. So that's the type of thing where if this thing gets ugly, I think it's one of those games where you say, man, he's holding on to the football. He doesn't have answers. They're taking a lot of sacks. I don't necessarily think that's what's going to happen, but I think probably when they were game planning for this matchup, that was probably at the top of their list.
Now, speaking of what you think's going to happen, let's go to our official scorekeeper here. Jack, what is Sheil's record in picking Eagles games this year so far?
That's a crisp 1-4.
Oof, Sheil.
Crisp.
Listen, it's
Just pick the
been a
Dodgers
rough
tonight. I don't
season.
care about the Eagles. Pick the Dodgers. Pick the Dodgers.
I know. Listen, we had a players-only meeting this week. We're
Okay.
regrouping. We're self-scouting. We're trying to figure out why has this season been such a disaster for me, not only picking Eagles games, picking NFL games in general. And I think we found a nice little kumbaya moment where we're going to be okay. So I look at this game, and I'm not going to overthink it. The Eagles are more talented across the board, except for maybe the Giants' defensive line. I think you can run the football on the Giants. I think Saquon Barkley has a big breakout game, runs for 150 yards. I think the vibes of this Eagles team are going to be better going into the mini bye. I like Eagles 30, Giants 13. Eagles run away with this thing in the fourth quarter.
Wow, 30 points.
I like it.
Yeah, how many punts are we blocking for touchdowns?
Yeah,
For scoring
that's a good-
30. Yeah.
At least get one, right?
Okay,
They can
yeah.
count on almost
Yeah.
one a week. So, yeah.
It's got a big Saquon night tonight.
Hopefully. I would love to see our first big Saquon game
yes,
of the year.
we need
actually.
it, yes.
All right, Sheil. Thank you as always. Big night tonight in Philly. I'm sure you'll have the 2 screens going. Well, 3 screens, of course, for Flyers Panthers as well.
There you go. The TVs are on the wall right in front of me, so I'll be ready.
All right. Thanks, Sheil.
All right,
All
Jill.
right, see you guys.